There we go. And read the notice. This is the Wednesday, July 12th meeting of the Open Space Ad Hoc Committee. Welcome, everyone. So this meeting, in accordance with open meeting law, will be recorded and broadcast live over Lunenburg Public Access Channel and on Facebook Live on the Public Access Facebook page. And if you are already logged in, you know that this is a Zoom meeting, number 9091740347. Or you can dial in at 888-475-4499 and enter that webinar ID 90917400347. If you're on Zoom, you can just raise your hand if you want to speak, other than the committee members who will have open mic. And if you are on the telephone, you can press *9 and to request to speak after joining the meeting. So I'm Mike Toohill. It looks like I said we do have a quorum tonight, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. And the first order of business is to review and approve the minutes from the May 10th meeting. I didn't have any comments on it. I don't know whether you folks have had a chance, the other board members have had a chance to take a look at that.
I have. I thought it looked fine.
Okay.
The May 10th meeting, the meeting that didn't have a quorum?
No, that was the June meeting, didn't have a quorum. May had a quorum.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're not going to discuss I know Brandon had sent some notes, we won't call the minutes, from the June meeting, but there was not a quorum, so we're not going to review or approve that because there was not a quorum for that meeting.
Good.
So this is for May 10th. So if everyone is good, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Thank you, Mary. And a second?
Seconded.
Thank you. And so we'll do, since we're on Zoom, we'll do a quick roll call vote. Matt?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. So the minutes have been reviewed and approved. I will forward those on for posting. The next discussion item, I know you guys, the folks that were at the June meeting, who were all of you at the June meeting, by the way? I know I missed that. I was in Quebec.
I was there.
I was not.
No, I think it was, yeah, no, I wasn't there either.
Okay.
Just
So there was a discussion that was held at that non-meeting about parcel 4 Leominster Road. There was a notice to convert residential use. And I don't know whether any of you had any further thoughts on that. I know I had shared my thoughts with Brandon and he discussed them at that meeting. I don't know whether any of you had any thoughts about that. We have a right of first refusal, 120-day right of first refusal. And I know when Brandon and I looked at it, because it is actually does not have frontage on the road, it should be, and it's a lot of wetlands, it should be considered a back parcel. And so we were going to make a recommendation, actually we were talking about making a recommendation, which we want to discuss tonight, to the Board of Selectmen, that they may want to have the assessor's office at least, and if not, an assessment made of the parcel to see whether or not the town wants to acquire that parcel by right of first refusal. Did any of you have any thoughts on that parcel?
If I may, Michael?
Yes.
The select board took this up last night at their meeting and
They did.
they signed the papers saying that they're not going to exercise it.
Oh, so we're done.
Yep.
Okay.
So the night before that, the planning board met. And so the planning board has met twice since the less than quorum. And we at first meeting we deferred, and then the second meeting, because of the time constraints, we took into consideration the discussion that was shared with by Brandon, and made the recommendation from planning board, made the recommendation to the select board to not exercise. And
Okay.
they took the last, yesterday, they looked at the pseudo minutes from Brandon and the recommendation from planning board, and made their similar recommendation not to exercise. But at planning board, it became a discussion about the process. And I mean, I think we have a great process here. We've created this group to provide expertise, opinion, and input to the planning board. And then the planning board then inputs to the select board, and it's the select board's ultimate decision.
Right.
So because we weren't able to get an actual recommendation because it wasn't a quorum, and because of the time constraints, but it brought up the conversation about these time constraints are just too damn short. We don't have the time or the ability to act on stuff like this. And it turned into, well, that's all dictated by the state.
Isn't it 120 days?
Yeah,
Okay.
As I understand, it's 120 days to fully execute, right? Not just 120 days to decide if we want to start the process to execute.
exactly.
Am I
And this,
incorrect?
right, no, this is exactly correct, my understanding. And so the 3 months is just not enough time to get everybody's ducks in a row. And in this case, there was not a bona fide offer, right? So that's a little bit different. So we would have to enlist an appraiser to get
Right.
an appraisal on the property. And that is what the town would be obligated to supply the landowner with to exercise their first right of refusal. But I mean, there's a lot of other moving parts, and I wish Brandon was here because he's so much more eloquent and educated and understanding on this stuff. But I mean, just the Lane property and the Saliba property, I think both of them were able to go beyond the 120 because there was cooperation with the landowner. I think that's the case. I'm not positive, but
That's
Okay.
what I had understood as well. I mean, I'm not as confident about going over the 120 days, but I had understood that cooperation with the landowner was a really big, significant factor.
yeah. So anyways, so the select board last night signed off their right of first refusal, and the landowner, one of the partners of the LLC that owns the property now, was there and presented that their intention is to build 4 houses. And 12.8 something acres was what was up for first right of refusal. However, the entirety of the property that exists in their ownership is 35 acres. So that's not bad, really. I mean, 4 houses
Yeah.
and acres. And it's on the tax rolls, which is a benefit because it's also protected by the Wetlands Protection Act and our local bylaw. So the wetlands aren't going to change. And the town doesn't own them, so we get revenue from it. So that was the reason that I was justifying suggesting that we pass on it
Okay.
as a member of the planning board.
So going forward, what can open space do better in order to be able to, I mean, other than make sure we have a quorum, is there anything else that we can do going forward to make sure that we get better input to the planning board?
No, quite honestly, I think this is not at all any deficiency or problem at all with the open space. This is just the system that we're stuck with. And I expressed that. I expressed a disinterest in the process, and then I later clarified in our planning board meeting on Monday that it's not about our process. The problem that I have is with the state process. The time frame is just it's relatively unrealistic for the majority of the properties that are going to be coming up.
Okay.
in my opinion.
So we're gonna be stuck in the same bind next time around.
Possibly. I mean, we had the 24-acre apple orchard for $600,000.
Right.
That was something that was of interest. And it just, the 120 days just cut our legs out. We weren't able to get together. I mean, the land trust was interested, Brandon was interested, I was interested. There was a number of private residents that were interested. We had money on the table, but because of the time frame, we just weren't able to act on it.
Okay.
So
Would-
I have a question about procedure. I mean, I don't want to interrupt your train of thought there, but at the end, I'd like to circle back around to my question if we might.
well, ask it. Well, I'm sorry,
Right.
I'm not the chair. I apologize.
No, go ahead, Mary.
So the question had also come to the Conservation Commission. And we had talked about it at 2 meetings. This last one and last week, and then the one previous. But to my knowledge, we'd not set the any findings or anything to the select board, right? I actually anticipated it would be something I would need to communicate at this meeting. Is it normal for the question to go out to the Conservation Commission and the select board, not to wait for input before deciding?
Honestly, I'm not quite sure that the Conservation Commission is technically involved in the state's process.
Okay,
But
fair enough. Then
think-
I
and-
even wonder, should we have been asked then?
I don't see any reason why we shouldn't ask anybody that has an interest or an input.
Yeah,
But- But
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, but I guess I'm just hearing the dialogue. I'm just surprised that we were asked, but nobody actually asked what our answer was.
well,
And it wouldn't have changed anything, right? We actually had talked about it, and I had been, I think, the sole voice of, hey, I think we ought to consider it because it would potentially add more protections around, tributary to one of our major lakes, which I have an interest in. But Brandon spent quite a bit of time educating me and Anna at the previous open space meeting. And then I had spent a little bit of time talking, to some other folks, and decided that, I thought it would be a big resource drain, even if we could pull it off. But even if we wouldn't, if we tried to act on that, it would be a big resource drain. And so I told the commissioners last week that I was not interested in pursuing it. So in the end, it wouldn't have changed anything. I'm just, in terms of process and procedure, was just questioning about, the ask, but then nobody actually seeing what our answer was.
So from a process standpoint, Matthew, is it primarily the planning board that has input to the Board of Selectmen on these issues?
so the chapter program is actually the state, and their language, I'm pretty sure, says that the select board has final say, and they get input from the planning board. And in our town, we've created this group, the open space, to inform the planning board, and then the planning board informs the select board. So,
Right.
I mean, by state law, I think it's just the select board and the planning board. I
So
think.
my question then is, these things, they don't come up that frequently. Would it be useful when they do come up to have perhaps the chair of open space and the chair of conservation at the planning board meeting while the issue is being discussed?
Seems like
That-
it'd be more expedient.
That would
Right.
really streamline it. And if there was an interest at that meeting, then if that meeting happened at the beginning of the 120, then I can't see that wouldn't give us a huge leg up on actually preserving these properties that they've been gaining all this tax benefit from for all these years, and for the potential of the town to acquire them. Yeah, my thought was, I don't know, like, we're able to be more restrictive than the state, but not less restrictive than the state. So I think that if we would try to expand that timeline, that would be less restrictive, but I'm not positive of that. And I don't know if there is any ability for a town to say that, well, we want more time. I don't know that either. But I want to ask the question, and I'm not quite sure who to ask that to.
Yeah, I just wonder, given the tight time frame, again, if it wouldn't be useful when this comes up to get members of the Open Space Committee, doesn't have to be the chair, but members of the Open Space Committee, members of the Conservation Commission, to come to the planning board meeting, to enter into the discussion. It kind of cuts out the middleman, you know, and you guys, planning doesn't have to wait for everybody else to meet to hear what they have to say.
Sure.
We could all do it at one night. And that may actually help the Board of Selectmen as well, because, you know, they're dealing with a fairly tight time frame.
So I love that idea. I mean, so we could potentially have a joint meeting with
Right.
the Open Space and the planning board, as long as both groups had a quorum, and we could deliberate, and we could, as long as we're on the agenda, we could make motions and come to a decision in that one meeting. That would be
Well,
ideal.
And I don't know that we'd have to have a quorum of open space and a quorum of conservation, for example. If we were invited to come to the planning board meeting, you know, as representatives of those committees, we're not voting. The planning board is the one that's voting. And so we could enter into discussions with the planning board or help the planning board without having to have a vote of open space and a vote of conservation.
Well, I don't disagree with that, but we are looking to this group for the expertise. I mean,
Yeah, I hear you.
the majority of these people, that they're wetlands, they're environmentalists, they're conservationists, they know stuff that planners don't necessarily know. And so that's why we created the group, because it's populated by people that have that specific interest. And it's beneficial in my mind to everybody in the town and in the town in general. So if we could have that joint meeting, again, that would be ideal in my mind.
Okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah. It's just, you know how difficult it is.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Scheduling meetings and getting quorums to begin with, and now we're gonna try to get, you know, 3 boards together in one night. It's possible.
Well, yeah, and especially with the time, you know, the clock ticking the whole
Right.
time too.
Right. Okay, just some ideas. You might bring that back to the planning board and just have a discussion item about process.
I like that. I like that suggestion, to have a joint meeting when this does come.
Right, right.
I love
Because
love
it's not that frequent, right? I mean, it's come up a few times in the past year, but you know, it's not like every meeting we're going through this.
Yep.
Okay,
I think that's an excellent suggestion. I'm glad you brought it up, because I also have been thinking about the timeline and wondering, you know, well, gosh, how could we ever be successful?
Yeah.
You know, except in rare cases. And, you know, there's some opportunities out there to really, I feel like, you know, add to our open space in a strategic fashion. It'd be a shame to miss them just because we can't kind of, you know, pull the meetings together in time.
okay. Well, let's go forward with that idea and you know, see if it bears any fruit. Anything else on that now that, thank you for telling us what happened last night. I wasn't obviously at the Board of Selectmen meeting, but any other discussion items about parcel 4? I think we're pretty well done with that, unless somebody has something.
Nope, it's a done deal.
Okay.
They signed the paper.
The other item that I keep putting on the agenda, and it keeps going nowhere, quite honestly, are the Stump Cove, Zero Shirley Reservoir Lake, and Parmenter Road parcels. And you know, we've had this committee's had many discussions about this and site visits and everything else. Honestly, I'm waiting for town council and the town manager to come through with some information for us. And I don't have that. I was not able to make the June town council hours. So I'm hoping August, because I think July has already passed for town council. I'm hoping I can get on August and see if they've been able to get together and come up with suggestions. And it all revolves around trying to clear the title on the Stump Cove parcel. Mary, you've been out there, right?
I have.
Yeah, and I went out there with a bunch of the residents. Eric, have you seen these parcels?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I have.
And Matthew, you've seen them.
Yep.
So again, in my mind, the Stump Cove parcel is probably the one that's better suited for public access to the lake, because there are several different access points. There are several areas where we could do, you know, some very small parking areas for kayak and canoe launch. Parmenter Road is challenged because there's a storm sewer easement. There are neighbors very, very close by. And the waterfront area is very small, and there's slope issues there. So it's not that it's, you know, not a good place to access the lake. It would be, but there are better places to access the lake on Stump Cove. But of course, the issue is with Stump Cove, we don't have clear title. And so that's the question that's before town council and the town manager right now, is there were actions that they could start to take to help us understand how to clear that title. And I have not been able to have another meeting with Adam on that yet. So that's kind of my report on those two parcels. That it hasn't gone anywhere. They're not going anywhere fast. But then again, there's nothing happening on them anytime soon. So that's the good news, is they're just, you know, sitting there, presumably town property, municipal use town property, sitting there for us to make some decisions, us and Parks and Recreation ultimately, to make some decisions on the potential use of those parcels.
So a question, if I may.
Yeah.
The Stump Cove parcel, that's not a clear title? That's not Lunenburg?
That's not a clear title.
So I understand that the lake itself is not a clear title. It's Lunenburg and owner unknown. Is that's the case with Stump Cove parcel as well? Because
Yes, we actually had a title examiner
Okay.
go back through the records, and I have a, you know, kind of a handwritten report from them that I'd given to the committee earlier, and it's clear that everyone thinks that it's, you know, town property, but we don't have a clear title to it. And
Well,
so, go ahead.
Oh, so I was just gonna mention that recently, the town has taken some trails up behind my mother's house, because they were unknown ownership and they took it for taxes. So
And
if,
that's part of what I'm trying to get information from that. That's one of the options there. Adam laid out like 4 different options for doing this, and he was going to talk to Heather about which option the town wanted to take. That's one of the options.
okay. That may be the easiest because they didn't even have to ask anybody. They just did it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll report back when I do have a meeting with Attorney Costa on this. Okay, that's about it for Stump Cove.
Mike, I just wanted to add one comment, if I might.
Yeah, go right ahead.
So I have walked those properties, and they're cool properties there by the lake. I did walk the Parmenter property with Anna. And one of the things that I noticed, because, you know, Conservation Commission, we're always looking at erosion. There's a lot of current use happening in that property that's unmanaged use, and it's creating erosion problems. So I think it would be beneficial to the town if that were put under the care and control of a commission that would manage the usage.
And so it depends on what we want the ultimate use to be as to whether it goes under care and control stays under general municipal, under the Board of Selectmen, goes under the Conservation Commission as a conservation parcel, or goes under care and control of Parks and Recreation, which Heather tells me is still under care and control of the Board of Selectmen because of the way that it's structured. And I agree with you. And there are encroachment issues still that remain on that site.
Mhm.
So let me remind everybody that the 2016 Farm Bill that was passed by the state allowed the agricultural commissions that were pre-existing, and we were, to hold land. So the agricultural commission now can hold land similar to conservation.
Okay.
We just haven't gotten to that point yet.
And is that advocating for holding that parcel or just a general advisory? Oh, okay.
No. I just wanted to add that to the list of town entities that can hold land.
Oh, okay. Clear enough. Yeah.
Yep, very clear. Yep. Yeah, I just named the other three because those were the three most
Right.
likely actors at this point, right?
Yep.
And I think it was Heather that told me that actually Parks and Rec doesn't hold land. It's actually held as general municipal for recreational use. So, but that I have to clear up again with Heather and with Attorney Costa.
But isn't that just kind of some fine print? I mean, if there were an active a custodian that was an active land manager, it doesn't really matter the mechanics of how that's done, does it?
It makes a difference down the road only in that if it's held under general municipal, you can look at that parcel for different kinds of uses.
Mhm.
If you hold it under conservation, it takes an Article 97 process to change it to some other use.
Mhm.
So you can't convert that use. And so we don't want to have to get into an Article 97 process for any of these parcels if we don't have to.
Agreed. And
So that's what
and
makes a difference.
even though I'm advocating that somebody who's an active land manager take a role, I'm not really thinking it's a natural fit for the Conservation Commission. I feel like it'd be a much more strategic fit with parks. Again, just thinking about having somebody who's an active land manager managing the usage or not of that parcel, so we can eliminate the erosion issues that are happening down there due to unmanaged use.
So when I was out there earlier, Mary, just out of curiosity, it's been a while since I've been down there. I didn't see an erosion problem down there. Where are you seeing it? Is it by the drainage easement?
Where I saw erosion problems. So if you're standing down at the water
Yeah.
and you're looking back uphill, right?
Mhm.
People have been using, there's like a quarter on the left-hand side adjacent to the left-hand parcel where
Mhm.
people have been, it looks like bringing down vehicles, maybe with an ATV or something.
Oh.
And when I was down there, there were places where the sand and soil had kind of run down and created a couple of kind of natural puddles, and it's an erosion problem. It wasn't like a huge erosion problem, but it's an erosion problem that'll only get worse as time progresses. And then if you're standing in that same location and you look at forgive me, I'm a sailor, 130 on the property, as you kind of think about a clock and 12 being straight up at the corner, 130 on the property, there was another area that actually had ATV tracks in it. It didn't look like it was the first time that had happened, because as you kind of walk down that lane where, the ATV had gone, there were other places where it was clear there had been stormwater running down off of the road and creating, again, puddles and places where the soil was actively moving downhill.
I'm gonna have to go out and take another look, because especially after these deluges that we've been having, any erosion that you saw, a month or so ago has probably been exacerbated by the recent
Mhm.
rainfall events.
That would be, excuse me, that would be an issue to bring up with DPW too, because it's a town road. If it's a town road that's washing off into property, that
Hmm.
they have responsibility to avoid that.
Yeah, I think that's why the drainage easement was put through there. Because that comes down from the road along as you're looking at the parcel, up into the parcel from the lake. It comes down the right side.
Oh, okay, yeah, adjacent to the property that had some encroachment challenges, I
Correct,
think.
the one that had the fence and the septic system and now has a shed. Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll go take another look. It's right down the street, so easy to do. Like I said, Stump Cove, I'm still waiting for Adam to help clarify some of the routes that we should take in order to clear that, because I think that one's got some great areas where you could set up you could even set up a little picnic spot, if you wanted to. There's easy access to
Right.
the lake. It's relatively gentle slope. There's actually a butter that has actually built a paved parking lot on town property.
Yeah, it's prepaid for us, right?
Um,
No expense.
Right, but we don't have to, the nice thing about that parcel is we don't have to be right next to somebody. There are other places on that parcel where you don't have to be right next to one of the residents. And,
Exactly.
and keeping that in mind, it gets public access to the lake. We can get people off Reservoir Road. Down onto the side road, we can park them into an area that's not near anybody's house. And it's very easy access down to the lake for a canoe or kayak. So we'll just keep chasing that one. It may take a while, but I'll try to get on town council's agenda in August. They haven't, do you guys know if they've sent out town council hours yet for August? I haven't seen them.
I don't know.
Mary, you'll probably get them as the chair.
Well, I'm a brand new minted chair, so I don't know what I'm gonna get yet, besides a lot of extra work.
You're gonna get yeah, exactly. That's why you should not raise your hand, you should sit on it.
What are you the chair?
So, I got voted the chair of the Conservation Commission.
Good for you.
You're not supposed to laugh, Matt.
Well,
Don't laugh. I was at the last meeting. She's doing a great job. And Bob is Bob still the vice chair?
Yeah, he's still committed to coach me and keep me in check. So I'm really thankful for that.
Okay, good. All right. Let's move on. I think we're into any other committee comments, concerns. Has anybody got anything else? Like I said, the agenda was fairly light for tonight.
No, I like the idea. I'll bring this back to the planning board about discussions about potential joint meetings instead of waiting for a recommendation. I like that idea. And as long as the membership of this group is willing and able to do that, I think that would work out spectacularly.
Yeah, I'm not at all opposed, Matthew, to moving our meeting, on an as needed basis to another night. And then we can either hold our regular meeting or skip it, depending on what kind of workload we have.
And that's another thing that came up in discussion too, is that this group is kind of open-ended, but it's specific in some areas. So it's not imperative, I think, in my mind or in general, that you do have regular meetings. It's quite foreseeable that you could go to every other month or 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah.
But organize when the right of first refusal does come up. But I mean, there's other fabulous things that this group does. So I don't want to encourage you not to meet at all, but I want to leave that open because every individual group has pretty much jurisdiction over what it does, when it meets, how often it meets, and the meeting content. So as chair, you can suggest any changes or updates or whatnot that you feel appropriate.
Yeah, we kicked that around a while back, and actually I asked whether or not people wanted to take the summer off if we had a fairly light schedule, so looking
Yep.
forward to August. If I don't have anything from Adam and Heather, I'll pull the troops, but we may just decide to wait until September for our next meeting.
Yep.
With vacations and all, it's kind of tough in the summertime anyway. Okay. Anything
Oh, I
else?
think I have one announcement. I forget
Go
if
for
I
it.
announced it at the previous meeting or not, but most people here tonight weren't at the previous meeting. I had submitted a Mass Trails grant on behalf of the Conservation Commission to do some engineering work on site planning, et cetera, on adding parking to Table Rock and the Reno properties there at Northfield, and then also to improve our access at the Harold Harley Wildlife Viewing Area. That's a section of the Cowdrey, and that grant was awarded. So it was awarded at the state level. We have to wait for, the rubber stamp by the feds, right? But we're hoping to be in a position to start executing on that grant sometime, towards the end of the year. I think it
Excellent.
was around $70,000 was the benefit to the town from that grant.
And is it matching or direct?
We had to commit, the Conservation Commission committed 20% matching and 80% funded by Mass Trails.
That's a good ratio. That's good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
The idea or the strategy behind doing that is to get the engineered drawings done so that we have kind of, maybe the next 10 years of follow-on grants in place so that we can, go through all of the approvals that we need to do to then apply for grant funding for the implementation of those plans as well.
But you haven't chosen a consultant or a firm to do that yet, right? I mean, it's too premature for that.
It's too premature. We had somebody that we worked with to give us the initial quotes, but I think given the value, we're probably going to have to go out for a bid.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get 3 bids.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Well, put it in Compass, whatever it's called, Combis.
That's all for me.
Okay. Eric, you have anything?
Nope.
You're good. Matthew?
I think I've said my piece.
Okay. So any thoughts on August if we don't have anything other than, discussing Stump Cove?
Well, my thoughts on Stump Cove, I've always thought that public access is pretty much a joke. It's just ridiculous. And I don't see any reason that as a municipality, we couldn't engage with the Army Corps, which I think is what it would be required to dredge out a path to the lake part that has a berth that can facilitate a boat. I think it would be an Army Corps permit, but the town has all the rights and abilities of a corporation, quite honestly, and they don't exercise it. So everything that the town owns, in my opinion, is owned by the citizens. And if the citizens get together and say that we'd like to use this piece of land that we technically own, and we are told that we have access to, I don't see any reason that we shouldn't be able to go through the process of finding out at least how much it would cost to dredge out a usable, viable, an actual public access to Lake Charlotte.
So you're thinking more than just canoe or kayak access?
There's no restrictions on that lake.
There aren't, and I know that, I think maybe it was Brandon that had discussions a while ago with folks from the state, and the state has been interested for a while in a boat ramp. The potential for a boat ramp here. But every time that comes up, the residents, the abutters, vehemently oppose any additional traffic on the lake. Now, I know, they've got theirs and they don't want anybody else to come in. I understand that.
Yep.
So what we've been talking about all along is, a walk-in area for canoes or kayaks, which you could do right now in Stump Cove. People do it right now.
Right. When the water level is high enough, right? Or you
The
can
water-
even, right.
Right.
You can do it at either parcel right now, can't you?
There's no parking.
There's no parking on Parmenter.
But you can side of the reservoir, and it's public right of way, so there's no reason that we couldn't expand that right of way and provide parallel parking along the road for cars. And anytime you put a boat launch, you're going to have cars, trucks. They're going to have also trailers, so you're more than doubling the size of the vehicle space that you need to have to park for a launch, which is problematic in regards to the space. But it's touted as public access. It's touted as public owned, but public be damned, we don't get to use it. And I'm
Exactly.
I'm really sick of it. Anyways, that's my 2 cents.
Okay. Well, when we have the next public meeting, you can certainly voice that, but we've gone down that road before, and not that we shouldn't. But it doesn't turn pretty.
No, well, this is my first time being involved in this group, and I'm kind of enjoying it. I've been on planning over 10 years, and I've always wanted to be part of this group, and now I finally am. And some people like my voice and some people don't.
Yeah.
Some people like the stuff that comes out of my mouth, and some people don't.
It's all valid, man.
Right. Most of the people that like the stuff that comes out of my mouth are people that don't voice at public meetings because they're sick of it. They've just been dejected, rejected, ignored, and put off for so long that they've given up. And that kind of sounds like the response that I got from this group is, we tried that and it didn't work. We can try it again.
We can try it again, and we tried that because, as you know, and this happens at town meeting all the time, it happens at all town board meetings. It's a vocal minority that shows up to those meetings.
And it's mostly just to get that out there. I get you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we should open the discussion again. Once I go through and figure out what the title issue is, we should open that discussion again. How's that?
I would be in favor of that.
Okay. One last request to you guys. Does anyone know anyone else that would like to serve on this committee? We've put out the call a number of times. We had a few potential, candidates who opted not to. We've gone through the talent bank stuff. If you know of someone that would like to serve on that, we do still have an at-large opening. So just to put that out there.
Very good.
Okay, I'm going to take a look at the agenda. I think the next meeting right now is scheduled for the 9th of August and then the 13th of September. And, stay tuned to that station, that channel, that time to figure out whether or not we're actually going to have that August 9th meeting. But right now it's scheduled for August 9th.
Mike, you had asked us for input on, and then we kind of took the conversation in a different direction about
Yeah.
whether we should have it if we're, have a light agenda. And I would, my own opinion is that we shouldn't have it if there's a light agenda unless there's some type of, time sensitive issue at hand.
Okay. Are any of the three of you on vacation that day? That's one way to do it. No?
Sadly, no.
Yeah, okay.
Vacation, what's that?
I take vacations, you know that. That's my background was one of the open space committee meetings I missed because I was hiking down in these hoodoos. All right, let's leave it at that. The next meeting is the 9th and I will, I'll send out, as I always do, I'll try to send that information a week ahead of time. Solicit any potential agenda items and keep Annie happy with us so that she can post things in a timely fashion. If that's it, I would entertain a motion for adjournment for this evening.
So move.
Boy,
Get three of them.
everybody's
Yeah.
jumping on that one. Eric, you
I'll
want the second?
I will second, sure.
All right. I appreciate it, guys. I will try to write up some notes for this one. I forgot to get a scribe, so I'll try to write up some notes for this. Thank you very much for coming tonight. I appreciate it.
Very good. Thank you both.
Have a good
Thank you
summer.
all.
everyone.
Have a good one.
Bye.